Here's a question that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Are some people simply born bad? Do some people just lack empathy? At first glance, the answer might seem simple yes. Otherwise, how else do you explain people who commit horrific acts like CSA, SA, emotional, psychological, or physical abuse? How do you forgive someone who has caused you pain like that? And here's the truth you don't have to. Forgiveness is not an obligation. You do not have to forgive anyone unless you personally feel the need to, unless you feel like forgiving that person would allow you to let go of all of this pain, anger, hurt, and resentment that you've been feeling towards them. Unless it makes you feel like it would allow you to carry on and move forward with your life, you do not have to forgive anyone, and no one gets to tell you otherwise. You have every right to feel the pain that you're feeling, and your pain is very valid. But here's where things get complicated. For the rest of us, we need to be able to hold two perspectives at the same time. And the second perspective is that if we want a better human society, then simply labeling people as deeply flawed, born bad, or lacking empathy solves nothing. It solves nothing. We need to be able to ask deeper questions, like why? Why did the person lose touch with empathy in the first place? Psychology likes to frame it as a brain problem, maybe a chemical imbalance, or sometimes even something like a reduction of mirror neuron activity. And yes, brain differences are real. But here's the thing research also points out that childhood trauma, like childhood emotional neglect or abuse, even causes a difference, changes in the wiring of the person's brain. So sometimes the differences that a person is exhibiting could very well just be symptoms of what they've been through rather than the deeper root cause. Imagine being assaulted at 7 years of age, and instead of anyone asking you what happened, everyone is just pointing out to your brain chemistry. And yes, the chemical imbalance can be a part of it, but it might just be a reflection of what you've been through rather than the deeper root cause in and of itself. Studies on adverse childhood experiences also highlight that children who have been through emotional neglect and abuse also shut down emotionally as a survival mechanism. So, what might seem like a lack of empathy could just be their way of coping to an environment that seemed unadaptable. And here's where it gets deeper. Research on intergenerational trauma and the mother's stress levels during pregnancy and unresolved trauma passed down through families can also affect the development of the child's stress response and their emotional regulation. And so, what might seem like being born defected could very well just be the inheritance of wounds. And let me be very clear, trying to understand where a person's cruelty comes from does not mean that we are trying to excuse their behavior. It does not mean erasing responsibility, and it definitely does not mean that you have to forgive that person. But if we stop asking the why behind things, then we will stop growing as a society. But if we try to understand that even behind the darkest behaviors, there is a root, then maybe, just maybe, we might create a society where empathy is not just rare, but it's normal. And that won't just be for our species, but for every other species that's sharing this planet with us. Thank you. Bye bye.